Hi, welcome to my video. Today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the new Minisforum computer. First of all, it works really well. Very good. It runs games fairly okay. It actually runs Doom 4. Doom 4. Diablo 4. Is it even Doom 4? It runs Diablo 4, is what I meant to say. Very similar game. They're both like in hell, so it's kind of common to get confused. And also, I play a lot of Doom back in the 90s, and I also play a lot of Diablo back in the 90s, so I don't know why everything was a hell theme back then. Anyways, so right now you'll see there's Fedora. Now, I could put Linux on this machine, but I'd rather use Windows on this machine. Actually, I use Windows on all my computers. And my previous videos, you probably see me, oh, hey, he's a Linux user. He even uses a Steam Deck. He's a Linux user. He even uses a Google Pixel. He's a Linux user. I am a Linux user. Even though I don't use it on my desktop, I'm still using Linux everywhere else, so you can't get away from it. The fact I don't use Linux is because, first of all, I don't like your desktop. The desktop, Gnome was great. I like Gnome. It works good. It's stable. It's a very good desktop. But they took out the system tray, which is stupid. They took out the desktop icons, which doesn't really matter. But I prefer them to have desktop icons because I'm just a person that likes desktop icons. Maybe a lot of people won't really give a fuck about it, but I do. I like desktop icons. I'm a boomer. I like my desktop icons. I also like my system tray because I have a lot of applications, OBS, Discord, I don't know, a bunch of applications that requires a system tray. So that's stupid. Also, with GNOME, they took out the minimize and maximize button out because they want you to have the full screen experience. But this is a 50-inch TV. I don't want my apps all in full screen. I'm sorry, this is a desktop system. This is not a tablet. This is not a smartphone, okay? This is supposed to be a desktop. It's even called a desktop environment. So, if it's a desktop environment, then why is it designed like a tablet? I know they're trying to make it universal so they can have it on touchscreen devices, which probably will be the future of computers. These mini computers probably be more of a future of the computers. So these big ass desktops, which I do like my big ass desktops to be honest, but I'm just saying like in the future probably everything's going to be very compact and embedded, and everything's going to be run on ARM chips. Who knows what the future is? Who knows if we see the next day? You know, because we're all the wars and stuff. Anyways, getting really ahead of myself, and the time is wrong. It's supposed to be 1 hour ahead. It's supposed to be 11:20, not 10:20. This is Eastern Standard Time. I go by Atlantic Standard Time. Anyways, so this is Fedora. This is running in the live session here. I do like Linux. I do. Okay, I want Linux to be great. I like KDE because it has all the features that GNOME does not have. That I want in GNOME that KDE has and provides. But the thing about KDE, for me, my experience, I hadn't tested out with Intel GPU, so it might be a better experience with Wayland with Intel, maybe. I have tried it with AMD, and I also have tried it with NVIDIA, which NVIDIA is probably the worst out of the two. But AMD was quite buggy as well. So I think KDE is kind of buggy in general. And this is me talking about the version 6, as I had some problems with it. I don't hate KDE. I do not like their woke agenda, just like GNOME and other things in Linux. I don't like all this DEI stuff that's being pushed into Linux, software. No, why is it fading away? It's fading. As soon as I said that, it's like hiding in shame here. No, I don't hate you, Fedora. I don't like your DEI agenda stuff, but I like Fedora. I think Fedora is a great distribution, to be honest. I'm a big fan of a lot of Linux distribution, but as I'm getting older, and I don't know, Linux is changing. Like Linux used to be more like rebellious, it used to be really like punk rock, like it had this outcast kind of like feel to it. It was cool, even though not much people used it, but the ones that did, they were hardcore. Just like how, in music, like the punks were like weren't really, you know, a lot of people didn't like them too much, right? They liked all this mainstream music. So so like the punks and the thrashers, they were like the outcasts. That was kind of like Linux, and like I had this sort of like you know relation to it, right? Like I can relate with this system because it just fit me quite well. But now Linux nowadays is very popular. A lot of people uses it, and it got really dumbed down. And also, I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but GNOME went so dumbed down that they removed the minimize, maximize button, desktop icons, and system tray, and also you can't even see the taskbar, which is meant to multitask, which a desktop environment is supposed to do. They have it, but it's hidden under the overview, which shouldn't be there. It should be visible on the desktop, which I don't know what they're doing with GNOME, but it works good. It's stable. If you're running a server and you need just a terminal and full screen, that's all you need to do, and have some like another workspace to open up a web browser to watch some YouTube on your breaks as a IT professional worker, sure, I can see that be perfect. But for a desktop user like me, this is not ideal at all. I'm sorry to say, I gotta say, like Windows desktop, as much as the Linux users hate Windows and all the spyware that it has, apparently, or privacy stuff with it, Linux has the same thing. Linux has a lot of vulnerabilities, especially this year. It came with a lot of nice, good little vulnerabilities. So Linux can also be unsecure, just like Windows, just like Mac OS. They're all in the same boat. If you really want to be secure, just don't use the internet and use your computer offline. Then you're good, right? With Windows, Mac OS, or even Linux. If you're offline, you're good. So technically, not one operating system is better than the other. Though, like I like Linux for the freedom and more of a, like open sourceness. But it does have its flaws for that as well, for being open source as well. That can also be your worst enemy. So it's good in a lot of ways for the freedom, but then after freedom can also be used in malicious ways, right? So it can go both ways. So I don't know what's better, proprietary or non-free, because to me, I just like to use software that works. I like to do things on the computer and the software that it works. I don't really care about it being open source or not open source. It doesn't really matter to me. Maybe it does for a lot of people, but for me, it never really matter. I do prefer open source because you can modify and do stuff with it. You have more freedom to it. Yeah, of course, we all like that, right? But for me, in a nutshell, a program that I need to use that works perfectly fine for me, like Steam. It's not open source, but everybody in Linux loves Steam. But Steam is very proprietary software, very proprietary, and the games that you run are also very proprietary. I'm sure there are probably some open source games on Steam, sure, but the games that you love playing every day are all proprietary, I'm quite sure of. But the whole point is, I know people they unsubscribe my channel because I I'm using Windows in one of my videos, or they unsubscribe my channels because I'm talking about Windows and I'm not saying good things about Linux. You know what? I speak the truth of things. I'm an honest person. If you people don't really like my videos, you don't like my channel, then simply leave. I really don't care, to be honest. I'm not here to cater to people. I'm here to just do my own thing and be myself. So if you people don't like it, then don't watch me. I can't please everybody, and I'm not going to change to please everybody either. So it is what it is. And I do love Linux, but I'm really not happy with the desktop at the moment. I'm waiting for, a good desktop environment for Linux that I can actually use on a daily basis. Say, hey, this is actually pretty good, and I don't really need Windows. But what Windows also does really great compared to Linux is gaming. I know people like, oh well, I don't play online games, so I don't really care for the anti-cheats and all. There's nothing to do with that. Linux does not support all the games that you want to play on. It supports a lot, but what if, let's say Microsoft makes a new DirectX and it's not compatible with Proton and Wine, and they cannot emulate your Windows game on Linux anymore? Because that can all possibly happen in the future, right? So like Linux is hanging off of what Microsoft's decision is in the future of DirectX. So think about that for a second. Linux is great. Like even with PC gaming, because of Steam, because of Proton, it made Linux and it made gaming possible on Linux. But without Valve, we would not have any much, games. We'd be back in the olden days. Like I remember the olden days of gaming on Linux was terrible. That's why I bought a PlayStation, or I had a second computer that run Windows, and I played my games on Windows. And I always have played games on Windows, and I still play my games on Windows. I'm not a fanboy of Windows. I'm not a fanboy of Linux, and I'm also not a fanboy of Mac computers or Mac OS. I like technology. I like computers. I like operating systems. I like to say good things when operating system does all the good things I like to do with computers that I like to do. This is a personal thing, right? Like, I love Linux. I've been using it for over 24 years, probably even longer than that. I've been using it for a while. I've been using it since the late 90s, like very, very, very late 90s, and till now. And I still use it. I still have NixOS on this drive right there. Plug into the computer. I can boot it up. I can run Linux already. Why I'm loading up Fedora 41 here? I don't know. It's because I want to install it. I'm going to take out the Bluetooth Wi-Fi device out of this computer because the range from here to the couch, the range is not that great. It doesn't work right. I do have a receiver with this keyboard, the MX keyboard, which I pay a lot of money for, but it's a good keyboard. It works really well. I pay a lot of money for it. I broke the receiver when I was connecting to the Dell computer. I forgot to remove the front shield of the Dell computer, and it kind of broke part of the clip as well, and it broke my receiver. And I'm like, whoops, that should be removed first before opening it up, because you have to like open it up like I don't know. The computers fold up like a book. You have to like open it up like a book. It's weird. It's hard to explain. If anybody uses like a Dell Oxyplex, you probably know what I'm talking about. Anyways, it's just all compact and it unfolds like a transformer kind of thing. I put it away. I don't use a Dell computer. I will never buy another Dell computer. I don't like Dells. And if you people like Dell computers, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you. I personally just don't like Dell. I think it's evil. They should take the D out and just put an H and call it hell, because it is hell to use that computer. The BIOS is locked down. It's like an HP. It's like all these OEM computers like Acer. They lock down the BIOS. It's so hard to like really do things with it. I mean, Asus or Asus or whatever you want to call that computer, Asus, I call it Asus. But anyways, you know what I'm talking about. The RG computers, or Tough, or even, I don't know, Prime. Those computers, it's actually easy to install Linux on it, and it's actually very nice BIOS, and it's very, very configurable. But like these OEM computers like Dell, HP, and Acer. It's not just Dell I don't like. I don't like these HP computers. I don't like Acer. And I have owned all these computers in the past as well. And yeah, I don't like it. It hates Linux. It's not really that great. It's really not fun to work with the BIOS. And also, I just don't like them. I think the Dell computer is shit. I put it away and I regret buying it. I paid a lot of money for that refurbished computer, which I paid more than what I paid for this computer. And this computer is a Core i5, and it's a 12th generation. It's not a Core i7, but my Dell is a 7th generation. This is a 12th generation. Also, this has 12 cores. So it has 8 more cores compared to the Dell computer, because the Dell is only a quad core. Anyways, this whole point of this video is that this computer is really great, but the Wi-Fi / Bluetooth little card is not so great. The range is very not great. It's probably because of the SSD is on top of it. The wires are, and the chassis I think is made out of metal, and I think because it's pretty heavy, and plastic's light, metal's pretty heavy. The thing feels very heavy. I know it's metal. It has to be metal, but I think the wiring is not getting through too well. The range is not that great. So I'm gonna take out that little. It's like a M.2, but it's little small ones. You could buy a little NVMe disk, it's like an NVMe disk, not like those long ones, the regular size one, but you can get those small one that fits into those slots as well, where the Wi-Fi goes. But you can put a storage SSD NVMe disk, and they're like, the same size as that Wi-Fi card, and you can fit inside that slot. Which I saw a nice silicone power one for $100, and it's 1 terabyte. I'm gonna just take that out and put a SSD in there, or NVMe disk, whatever, inside there, and not have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, because it's shit anyway. It doesn't work. I don't use Wi-Fi, and I do have a USB, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi. So if I really need it, I can plug that in and just use it. But I don't really need it, because I ordered the receiver for that keyboard that I broke, because it just takes the Bolt Logitech keyboard. And actually, I searched it up, and they actually sell it on Amazon. Like if you need like another receiver for your Logitech devices, which is really cool, Logitech. So it's $20. I'm like, fuck, I'll just order that. I was gonna buy a brand new keyboard, what a receiver and all that. I look up all different kind of keyboards, and I was like, you know what? I'll see if they sell the receiver. It might be a lot cheaper. I gotta stop buying keyboard. I got a lot of keyboards. I got a lot of computer stuff, to be honest. So yeah, this video is getting quite long. I didn't want to make it that long, but I'm still around. I know I was gonna do a follow up on this computer. It works really well. It's actually a really good device. It plays Diablo 4 pretty good in low settings. That is, like, I'm not cracking this up like on high settings, but it does run it, because my B-Link, the AMD B-Link that I have with the iGPU, with the Vega 8, Diablo 4 barely did not run that well at all on the system. With the Intel graphics of this Core i5 12600H, it's a lot better than the AMD iGPU. I'll like compare like from the B-Link. So it's actually good, but does it run Final Fantasy 14 good? It runs it, but not really great. Near to the B-Link, it barely ran Final Fantasy 14. I remember Final Fantasy 14 before the graphics update. It used to be. I used to run that on a GTX 750 Ti, a GTX 1050 Ti, and it worked perfectly fine. Maybe not 60 frames per second, but it was still worked, and it was playable, very playable. I actually played the game a lot with that setup. So, yeah, with the new graphics overhaul, it requires more GPU power, so therefore I was getting like 30 frames per second. Still playable, but I don't recommend playing any MMO at 30 frames per second. I wouldn't personally play an MMO at 30 frames per second, as I do got a capable good computer that runs it way better than that. And also I got a high refresh monitor as well, so it's pretty cool. Um, yeah, why I'm not liking Linux as much as I used to like it back in the day. I think it just got too mainstream, and GNOME just it's worse. It was getting bad with version 3, but it just got more worse with, you know, version 4. And I missed the GNOME back in version 2, because GNOME version 2 had a system tray, it had a desktop icons, it had a taskbar that was visible so you can see, and it was actually a really good desktop. I actually like GNOME 2, and I know people gotta say use Mate or Mate or what do you want to call it. No, I want to use GNOME. Okay, thank you very much. I want GNOME to smarten up and actually make it more a desktop environment. I don't care about tablets. I don't care about touch screens. I care about a desktop system. So get your shit together, GNOME, and make a better desktop. The stableness, the snappiness, it works really good in Wayland. The compositor is good. Mutters works really well. I love the workspace switcher. I think that's a very nice feature, but they need to improve the UI a bit. They need to add the maximize minimize button by default on the system. Also have the dash visible on the system. Also have a system tray and desktop icons. Then I would consider that a desktop environment. As of now, it's a tablet UI. This is not a desktop environment. KDE is a desktop environment, but they need to fix out the bugs, because that desktop environment is very buggy. It doesn't matter what you're on. You can even be on X11 and it's still buggy. KDE always been a buggy mess way back in the day. It still is today. Since Plasma, KDE been very buggy. The old school KDE, like the original K desktop, actually worked really well. I actually remember using Fedora, one of the first Fedoras on KDE, like the legacy KDE, like the original K desktop, and it worked lovely. It had the blue curve theme, and it was just very Red Hat. I really loved it. It worked really good. It was a great system. Actually, that's why I still like Fedora to this day. Because Fedora is also a good system. It really is. It has a lot of woke agenda to it, which I don't like about it. But if you put that aside, the system is great on its own, right? I think any Linux distribution is pretty good. They all do good stuff. All. It's just personal taste, really, when it comes down to it. But I don't really use Linux much anymore. I use Windows a lot nowadays. And there's a reason for it, because Windows Desktop is just simply better. It has better gaming support, and games just run better anyways. And I also can use my NVIDIA GPU, which has better graphic driver support as well. And it just works better for me. But it doesn't mean that I love Windows. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't hate Linux, and I don't love it. I don't hate Mac OS, and I don't love it. They're all good systems. I love using them all, and I don't favor one more than the other. I find them all great. However, I will say Linux needs to improve their desktop environment, and I don't think Cosmic's going to save it either. And I wish a Linux user would just stop having wishful thinking with Cosmic, because this happened with FreeBSD back with Lumina desktop. And don't get your hopes up, people. Please don't do it. Don't do it. What Linux can do is what we have already that can be improved. Gnome is there. It's right there. It's stable with Wayland. It works really good. You can compile it without X11, components. You can just take it out of the system. All that is great. Under the hood of Gnome is great. It's perfect. It's great. But GNOME needs desktop features. It needs the UI to be more desktop-y. It needs a system tray. It needs desktop icons. It needs a visible dock or taskbar. It it just needs all that. It needs it. Don't say that you don't need a system tray, because we do need a system tray. Until applications no longer support system tray, then we don't need system tray. I know some users like, I don't, the system tray doesn't bother me. I actually prefer not to have a system tray. Good for you. But there should be an option where we should have a system tray, and an option that if you don't want a system tray, and I'm sure we have that option, people will still use system tray. Even though if they say that they don't need a system tray, they'll still keep it enabled. I guaranteed you that. People just say it now is because you don't have that option. It's just, you just don't have it. You don't have a system tray, period. And that sucks. GNOME, I need a system tray. Give me back my system tray. Give me back my desktop icons, and give me back my taskbar. Anyways, that is my rant. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.